Hello, everyone. I hope everyone had a good week, is having a good day, and hopefully we will all together have a wonderful Shabbos. There are two sponsors for this week's video Dvar Torah. The first sponsor is Ezra Sivan, who is sponsoring in memory of his father, Alan S. Zuckerman, Avraham Zalman ben Yehuda Yaakov Zechrona Levracha, whose 12th Yortzei was observed on the 30th of Av. And we thank you, Ezra, and your father's neshama should have an aliyah. Additionally, the video Dvar Torah is sponsored by Jody and Kevin Kaufman in support of a refuah shlema for their 22-month-old granddaughter, Elisheva Bat Chaya, and we joined them, and we also davened that she should have a refuah shlema. And the sponsorship should be a merit to that effect. Whenever there is a new president in the United States, I presume in other countries, new prime minister, so there is great symbolism, significance to the first official act of the president, the first executive order he will sign. That's a way of stating what is important to the president, what will be important issues in his administration. And similarly, in this week's Parsha, the Torah describes amongst the mitzvos of the king what is to be the first official act when there is a new Jewish king appointed over the nation. The Torah says, V'haya kishivto al kisei mamlachto, and it shall be when he will sit on his throne, when he will ascend to be king, the new king. What is the first thing that he should do? V'chasav lo es mishneh haTorah hazos. I'll say, for he is commanded to write or to commission a new Torah. V'haisa imo v'karbo kol yemei chayav, and that Torah will be with him, and he will read it, he will study it his entire life. Laman yilmad liyira es Hashem elokav lishmor kol divrei haTorah hazos, so that he will learn to fear God and to perform the mitzvahs. The Torah, of course, understands the abuses that the king could come to with his great power, and this was one of the safeguards, the Torah, that he would write and always have with him. Chazal, the Gemara, understand, though, that he would not write one, but he actually needed to have two Torahs. The phrase is as Mishneh HaTorah Hazot. And the Gemara understands that Mishnah, the Gemara and the Mishnah, our tradition, that Mishnah comes from like Sheni, a second. He shall write a second Torah. That in fact the king, different than any other Jewish person, was commanded to own two Torahs. What were those two Torahs? The first Torah, or the Torah that is referred to explicitly in the Pasuk, is the Torah that he would take with him wherever he would go, as the Pasuk describes it. Yotzei v'nichnas imo, he would take it with him in his goings in and his goings out, wherever he would go. Yotzei l'milchama, when he would go out to war, motzi ima, he would take it with him. Nichnasu machnisu ima, when he would return from war, he would return it with him. Yoshev v'dim, when he would sit as a judge or to receive petitioners as king, he imo, the Torah would be with him. Mesav, when he would be at a meal or at a festive celebration, he kenegdo, he would put it in the chair next to him. Shnemar, as the pasuk says, Vaisa imo v'karbo kol yemei chayav, shall be with him his entire life. Or as the Gemara puts it, Oso kimin kameya v'tolo bezoro, he would hold it in his arm always. Shnemar shivisi Hashem lenegdi samid, God will be with me, always opposite my side, in my presence. That was the Torah that the pasuk is referring to. He must always have the Torah with him. It must be always in front of him, reminding him of what he should and should not do. However, there also was another Torah. Va'achas, and there was another Torah, shemunachas lo bebeis genazav. He would have another Torah that would be stored in the treasury, that would be put away in a safeguarded place, not regularly visited or looked at, along with all of the other treasures and jewels that the king owned. What was the point of this second Torah in the treasury? Well, in some ways it was a backup. If the king was really taking the Torah with him to war and to all matters, you can imagine that Torah could get damaged, could get lost, and there couldn't be a second that the king wouldn't have a Torah, and so there always had to be this backup in reserve. But many see even more symbolic significance and lessons to learn from these two Torahs. The halacha is, the Gemara makes clear, that a halachic difference between these two Torahs was that the Torah that the king would carry with him, he had to write. The pasuk says, "V'chasav lo," a new Torah commissioned when he became king. The Torah that would sit in the treasury could have been the Torah, and often would have been the Torah that he would have inherited from his father, likely the previous king. And so there was the Torah that he wrote, that he brought into his life, that he brought into all of his interactions, that guided him in his mission and what he did as king. And there was a Torah that he received from his parents that was put somewhere safe, that was left alone for much of the time, and was kept with all the other treasures that he owned. We often talk about, remind ourselves, give ourselves chizuk, that we have to take the Torah with us, take the Torah into our lives, be guided by the Torah and Torah principles in everything that we do, whether it's at work, how we relate to people, how we raise our families. The Torah is meant to be brought into life, and that is, so to speak, the Torah of the king that he would carry with him wherever he would go. But it is also true that it is important to have a Torah that is stored away somewhere as not part of regular life, a Torah that is stored in the treasury of our of memories, of childhood memories, of long ago memories, a Torah source of inspiration, of holiness, which is only visited once in a while, which is guarded, which is pure and holy in a different way than the Torah that touches life, so to speak. We are now about to observe the first Shabbos of Elul, which means that we are beginning already to look towards Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Elul is a time leading to Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, where on the one hand we're trying to think of how to improve our lives and how we act and how we live in real ways and small ways, but in real ways, and how we interact with people in real life. That is a Torah that we carry with us on our arm wherever we go. But Elul, leading to Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, is also a time when we are trying to channel, when you're trying to connect, especially on those so holy days, to open up this treasury, the storehouse of jewels, of treasures, of things that are kept locked away almost the entire year. Torah, mitzvos, moments and experiences, kavanah during davening, which is holy and pure, and which in a way is divorced or is very different, dissimilar from our regular everyday lives. During Elul, we're also trying to walk towards that treasury that will open up on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, to reconnect again to that mindset, that spirituality, davening, that is, again, just holy and pure, that is associated with our past, with tradition, with previous generations, which is holy, pure, kept clean, kept safe from the challenges and the controversies and the complexities of everyday life. And so hopefully this Elul, we should begin thinking. It's only, it's less than a month away, Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. We should have an Elul that we can prepare, we can find time to listen or to read, to get in the right mindset, so we will enter Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, have uplifting, inspiring, truly self-changing days, to have inspiring Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, that hopefully will lead us to be sealed to a year of health and happiness. Good Shabbos, everyone, and Shabbat Shalom.